All right, so I'm starting a new series called Rotary for Beginners or something like that. And in this episode, we're gonna specifically talk about why I think you should be using a Rotary in your business in 2025. So I'm not gonna go over exactly how to use it, but more so of getting you over that mental hurdle that I see so often of why people are against using a Rotary. So on the future episodes, I'll go more into detail of using a Rotary to polish paint, using a Rotary to polish water spots off of glass, and go more into detail of those. But in this one, I just want you to listen and kind of, as you're watching the video, kind of think about like, what are the things that are stopping you from using a Rotary? Other than hearing, oh, well, it's such an outdated tool. Oh, with the DAs we have now, we don't need to use them. Like, why else aren't you using a tool? Because if there is a tool that you can use in your business that'll make you more efficient, gives you more effective results, then why should we not explore that tool or that methodology to just make us a better detailer and help us produce better results in a shorter time frame for our customers? So again, it's not going to be a how to use a Rotary, but more so of getting you over that mental hurdle. And I do want to announce as well that we do have training classes now here at our shop if you're interested. It's a 2-day training where we're going to cover interior and exterior detailing, dual action polishers, Rotary polishing, and covering the business side of things. So if you're interested in that, the training will take place here in Houston at our shop for 2 days. So just click the link down below if you're interested in getting a 2-day hands-on training with us over here. But let's get started with this video. So I have a multitude of polishers here. I have a 3-inch DA from Flex. I have a 5-inch Rotary from MaxShine. Have a 3-inch Rotary from Griot. Have a 15 DA from Milwaukee, and then have this chunky DeWalt Rotary polisher. Now, each tool has its own purpose, and realistically, whether you're doing a dual action or a Rotary or a forced rotation, it can cut paint, right? Like if you give yourself enough time, you can cut paint. Now for me, the reason why I select to go with a Rotary for the cutting step is just because I know flat out it's going to be faster. It's going to be faster in terms of getting the cut that I want in a shorter amount of time. And then since there's more power in the machine, I can move faster as well. So it cuts faster and I'm able to move faster. So it decreases the time I'm spending on the paint. Now again, like theoretically, if you put a yellow foam pad with a polish on it and you wanted to spend 2 hours on one panel, I mean, you can correct it down. You just got to give it an enormous amount of time, right? Just as a hyperbole there. But even with all these polishers, for me, like unless it's a vehicle that we're pricing differently or it's a different kind of process that we need to do where a DA can get the job done, most often I am gonna go with a Rotary. Specifically because there's gonna be times, and this is what really like connects it for me, that why I'll choose a Rotary over a DA, is because if you spend time going back to a few areas or spending a bit more time on a few isolated deep scratches with the DA because it just needs more time to cut, or maybe on a curved panel on a body line, you're spending a bit more time trying to finesse the polisher, that's already slowing me down too much. So instead of trying to finesse the polisher on a specific body line or going over a specific section over and over because it's taking a bit longer to cut with the DA, with the Rotary, you'll be able to cut through it a lot faster. So a big reason on why I just go Rotary versus DA is simply because I can cut it down faster. Now for my second point, I don't have the best vehicle to show you this exact example, but just bear with me here. So I have 2 polishers. Don't mind the pad, it's just for demonstration. I wouldn't use these pads for the Rotary. So when it comes to curved panels, as I was saying in the first point, to where when you're polishing with a DA, whether it's 3-inch or 5-inch, a lot of times the polisher will bog down, not specifically on this one, just imagine it's a more curved panel. The Ford GT that we did, the Mercedes, there's a lot of cars that just have a lot more curvature to them. So when you're working on a body line on curvature, your DA will naturally just bog down a bit more. So you have to kind of tilt and find that sweet spot to where you're still getting rotation on the polisher and still giving you enough cut to actually remove the defects. Now again, if it's a small section, okay, sure, not the biggest deal. But when you're working longer panels, when it's both on the top and the bottom and you have to finesse the polisher over and over, it's just annoying, right? Like, cause like you're more focused on getting the panel flat to rotate versus removing the defects. Whereas with the rotary here, once you turn it on, it's going to keep on spinning, right? Of course, you can have a weaker rotary versus a stronger rotary, but nonetheless, for the most part, it's gonna keep on spinning at full throttle, and it's gonna give you the cut. Now, of course, on the body line, on edges, on smaller areas, you do have to be more careful with the rotary, but that shouldn't stop you from using the rotary. Because I don't wanna slow down to finesse the DA polisher to find that sweet spot to try to get it to cut. Versus the rotary, I know 100% it's going to cut. And I know the exact movement I need to do to remove those defects. So I'm able to just move a lot faster and get the work done with the rotary because I know it's going to cut. And again, if you pair it up with the first point, it's gonna cut faster, and I'm gonna be able to move faster, and it decreases your time overall. And on that same note, when we go to very tight areas on a vehicle, again, this isn't the best example, just bear with me. So with the DA, when you turn it on, you're gonna have that throw, right? Whether it's a 9, a 15, or a 21. And since that's the case, you can't get very close to the edge because of that throw, right? So to some degree, again, going back to, you have to finesse it a bit of it, try to get to the very edge, and it's kind of working, kind of not. But with the rotary, right, you can get right up to the very edge and get as precise as you want to get maximum cut in a very efficient time. So instead of trying to turn, battering the polisher and kind of finessing it, kind of, hitting the edge, or maybe doing it by hand, with the rotary, you can get right onto the edge, not of the paint, but you get the point of whatever body line or panel you're trying to hit, and get very, very precise with it. Now again, this is just for example purposes. I wouldn't necessarily use this pad or this compound to do this. But let's say even for the glass polishing, right? With the rotary and the DA, when it comes to the flat surface, and again, you can use a 5-inch if you wanted to do this, it's gonna have no problem covering the larger surface because you just put it down flat and you're able to work it in. So it's no issue. The problem or the nuance becomes, like, let's say this one's pretty easy because it's just paint, but if you're working on a window that has a big that has a rubber seal or rubber edge around it, you don't want to hit the edge. Now again, you can also tape it up and prevent you from hitting it, which is also good. But another level of that is you're able to get a lot more precision out of the rotary. So I'll be able to get right to the very edge, not go over to the paint, and get very precise cutting. And this is what I mean across the entire vehicle of, you get to be very, very precise with these edges or body types. And again, for the most part, with a DA polisher, you can cover these areas here because it's just a flat panel. Any polisher can hit this. But it's when you get to the edges, again, this is not a good example, but think about not just a window, but any type of panel, window, where you have to get very precise on a door handle, on a body line, on glass with rubber, on whatever it means. You can't get as precise with the rotor or with the DA, just simply due to the throw. So this one, you can see that, well, I don't know if you can tell, but it's crossing over to the other side. So I am getting here, but I'm also getting a little bit more throw than what I want to get very, very precise. So that leads to my third point, which these are all kind of connected, but the third point is that I simply get more cut. Like, I know if I do things all equal, right? And again, contextual to the machine. Like with the DA polisher, you're gonna do a crosshatch pattern, maybe go up, down, versus with a rotary, you're gonna do one pass, and that's just left, right, left, right. So contextually, right? If I'm doing the same amount of work to reduce, if I'm doing the same amount of effort to reduce the swirls, it's going to be faster with the rotary because it's going to get more cut. It's not going to get bogged down. There's more power to the machine, and I have more control, right? And with that being said, it's that, like, it's not a scary tool, right? There's such a big stigma with the rotary of, like, you're gonna burn paint, or that it's so outdated. It's just another tool, right? Like, it's like saying, like, you're gonna, cook something in the kitchen, and you didn't want to use a 10-inch knife because you might cut yourself. It's like, well, I mean, yeah, you can do that with a 3-inch knife as well, or whatever, right? So it's like, you could use a very sharp cutting knife to cut the meat, but you want to use like a plastic one because you want to be safer. It's like, well, like, that's the whole point of being a professional and an expert and being skilled at your trade, is that you can handle these different tools to get the results that you want, right? So it's not, it's not a tool to where you know, you leave it on there 1 second too long and you burn the paint. Like, you have to be very negligent and, I mean, downright kind of just ignorant to the fact of what you're doing with the machine to burn the paint. Now, again, if you just turn that thing on speed 6 and you go absolutely to town on one spot, don't move the polisher, and you're putting your weight down on it, I mean, yeah, but at that point, I mean, if you use a DA, you're probably gonna burn the paint too, right? So it's gonna come with a level of skill. But I don't want you to think that the rotary is just like, oh my, it's just such a crazy tool, and like, I need specialty training on this thing in order to get it done right, because if I don't go get trained, like, oh, I can't use this tool. It's not like that at all. So I think of the last 10 corrections that we've done, 9 out of 10 times we pick up the rotary. Like, it moves by so much faster for us. Now, again, I'll make more videos on how to use it in future videos. I just want to focus on kind of break it down on why I think you should have this in your arsenal. And there's multitude of polishers, but if you just want to get started, the Max Shine Rotary M1000 is $140 or something like that. Like, that's a great entry-level rotary polisher to get into. Like, it's going to get the job done. Not the strongest, but for the price point of getting into a rotary, it's gonna do very, very well for you. And I know once you start using it and actually working with it and getting the results, and you see that it cuts faster and it's not this scary tool, I'm certain you'll pick it up more and more, because it gives you more flexibility, more freedom to work on a vehicle versus just sticking to a DA. Again, we still use a DA all the time. Like, we use it for our half step to remove the haze and the holograms from the paintwork. So we're still using a DA. We're just not using it as our primary cutting tool when it comes to removing defects. And here's just a very simple example with the rotary. This is not how I typically use it. Usually you lay a bead down. This is just for an example, but this is how I would work a window when it comes with the rotary. Like, it's going to be glass, so I'm not worried about like overheating it, right? Because it's not paint. The glass can take a lot more of the beating. I'm not gonna overheat it anyways, but I know I can get a lot more aggressive with the glass. So naturally, I'll go faster, I'll cut faster, and because it's just a rotary, I'm gonna get the results much faster than if I were to use the DA. So it's on speed setting 5. Again, typically you would lay a bead down, pick it up, and I wouldn't use this pad normally, but for example's sake, let's just get into it. And just like that, you're gonna wipe it down. It's not scary. The glass is by no means warm at all. And it is basically done, at least for this example. Again, I'd use a more aggressive pad. I'd use a different compound. But that is the whole gist of using a rotary, is that I know for a fact when I'm cutting paint or glass, and there was a lot of water spots on here actually, I can get to my end result a lot faster. I'm not worried about the machine bogging down or finessing the machine to get it just right, to get some rotation to cut the defects, right? I don't have to switch from a 5-inch to a 3-inch. I'm able to use, you know, let's call it the 5-inch in a lot more specific areas, because there's more rotation, there's more RPMs, there's more torque, and it's more precise. And the times that I do have to move from a 5-inch to a 3-inch, well, I still get the same benefits. I get even more precise, and I can fit in different scenarios and different situations to get that maximum cut. Now, I'm not gonna be the most experienced rotary user, nor am I the best, but we do use it 9 out of 10 times that we're correcting paint, just because we see it as a superior tool when it comes to removing defects. So again, first episode, I'm not gonna go too into the weeds of anything, wanted to keep it light, and primarily it's just for those that are saying, do I need a rotary? Hopefully this video to some degree helps you make the decision of saying, okay, that is a tool that I need in my arsenal to help me with corrections and polishing and whatever else you're doing to the paint. So if you have any specific questions about a rotary, about whatever, leave me a comment in the comment section down below, and I'll see you on the next video. I don't know if the next video will be another rotary video, but I'll make it into like a 3-4 part series covering rotary polishing.